The joke slipped out at the worst possible moment, wrapped in exhaustion and quiet desperation, and the second it left his mouth, he wished he could pull it back. It was one of those half-smiles people use to hide how close they are to breaking. He never imagined that a few careless words, said by a tired single father on an ordinary night, would turn into a moment that would change not only his life, but the future of his child, and the heart of a woman the world believed had everything. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that happen when people least expect them, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the Kindness Chronicles. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. He had not planned to be a single dad. No one ever does. Life simply handed him a responsibility heavier than his hands felt ready to hold and walked away without explanation. His days were built around lunchboxes, overdue bills, and the soft breathing of his daughter asleep on his chest when she was scared of the dark. He worked 2 jobs, neither glamorous, neither secure. One was a maintenance position in a downtown office tower, the kind of job where people rarely remembered your name but noticed immediately if the trash wasn't emptied or the floor wasn't clean enough. The other was a weekend delivery route that kept him away from home when his daughter needed him most. Every night, when the city lights flickered through the thin curtains of their small apartment, he wondered how long he could keep pretending he wasn't drowning. The apartment itself felt like a compromise with reality. Too small, too cold in winter, too quiet at night when his daughter finally fell asleep and his thoughts got loud. He had sold almost everything of value to keep them afloat. Pride had been the first thing to go. The second was rest. But what he never sold, what he clung to with a stubborn grip, was the promise he made the night his daughter's mother left. He promised that no matter how hard it got, his child would always feel safe, loved, and chosen. That promise was tested every single day. The night everything changed began like many others. His daughter had fallen asleep early, worn out from a long day at school and a quiet sadness she never fully explained. He sat at the kitchen table, unpaid bills spread out like accusations, calculating which ones could wait another week. That was when his phone buzzed with an email notification from the building management system. A guest access request had been approved for a high-level executive visiting the offices the next morning. The name attached to it made him pause. It belonged to the CEO of the very company that owned the building. He had seen her picture before, framed in glass near the lobby, always smiling, always confident. To him, she was a symbol of a world that felt unreachable. People like her didn't worry about heating bills or whether there would be enough cereal left for breakfast. They didn't count coins at the grocery store or apologize to their kids for not being able to buy something small but important. Earlier that evening, during a routine inspection, he had run into her unexpectedly in one of the upper floors. She looked different in person. Tired, somehow. Less polished. They exchanged a few polite words, and in a strange moment of honesty, she commented on how late she worked and how empty success could feel when you went home alone. He responded with a tired laugh, mentioning how noisy and full his place was, even though it barely fit 2 people. When she jokingly asked how he managed, the words slipped out. He said she could always move in if she wanted chaos, laughter, and a fridge full of mismatched leftovers. They both laughed. It was harmless. Or so he thought. That night, he went to sleep believing nothing had changed. Morning came too fast. The alarm rang, and he moved through his routine like a machine, waking his daughter, packing her bag, tying her shoes with practiced hands. There was a knock at the door just as he was pouring the last of the coffee into a chipped mug. He assumed it was a neighbor, maybe a complaint about noise or a package left at the wrong door. When he opened it, the hallway seemed to shrink. Standing there was the CEO. Not the framed photo version. Not the distant executive. But a woman holding a small overnight bag, dressed simply, eyes tired yet determined. For a moment, neither of them moved. His heart hammered so loudly he was sure she could hear it. He thought he must still be dreaming, caught in one of those stress-induced fantasies where reality bends just enough to mock you. She reminded him of the joke. She explained, calmly, that she needed somewhere real to be for a while. Somewhere without staff, without expectations, without silence. She said she wanted to know what it felt like to live in a space where love was louder than ambition. Fear and disbelief battled inside him. He thought of his daughter asleep in the next room. He thought of the mess, the smallness, the vulnerability of letting a stranger into their world. But he also saw something in her eyes that felt familiar. The look of someone who had reached the top and realized it wasn't solid ground. He stepped aside and let her in. The days that followed felt unreal. The CEO didn't take over or judge. She washed dishes, listened, learned routines. She watched him pack lunches with care and read bedtime stories with voices that made his daughter giggle. She saw the cracks he tried to hide, the moments when exhaustion made his hands shake, the quiet tears he thought no one noticed when bills came in the mail. In return, she shared pieces of herself he never expected. The loneliness of leadership. The pressure to be unbreakable. The cost of always being in control. She talked about a childhood filled with absence and how success became her armor. Living in that small apartment stripped it away. There was no boardroom to hide in, no assistant to filter emotions. Just a kitchen table, a child's laughter, and a man doing his best with what little he had. Challenges didn't disappear. In fact, they became more visible. Rumors started when people noticed her absence from her penthouse. Media questions surfaced. His job was suddenly at risk when management questioned his connection to her. He worried constantly about what this would do to his daughter if it all fell apart. He feared being a temporary escape in someone else's crisis, a footnote in her story instead of a chapter. But something else was happening beneath the fear. The CEO began to change the way she saw the world. Not through policies or speeches, but through lived experience. She witnessed the invisible struggles of people like him. She saw how one missed paycheck could unravel a life. How kindness from a stranger could hold someone together for another day. Slowly, deliberately, she started making changes. Quiet ones at first. Fair wages. Flexible hours. Support systems for working parents. She didn't announce them with fanfare. She implemented them with understanding. And he changed too. He learned to ask for help. To accept that strength wasn't measured by how much you carried alone. His daughter blossomed under the warmth of having another caring adult in her life. The apartment, once a symbol of limitation, became a place of healing. Laughter echoed louder. Meals lasted longer. Nights felt less heavy. The suspense lingered, though. Everyone knew it couldn't last forever. The world would demand her return. The question was whether she would leave unchanged, or whether this brief chapter would rewrite everything that came after. The morning she packed her bag to go back to her old life, the air felt thick with unspoken truths. He stood there, proud. And terrified, unsure if this was goodbye or just another beginning. She thanked him for the joke that wasn't really a joke. For the door he opened without knowing the cost or the reward. She left, but not in the way people expected. Weeks later, his life didn't collapse. It expanded. His job was secured, improved. Opportunities appeared that felt impossible before. The company launched initiatives that transformed thousands of families' lives, inspired by one small apartment and one exhausted father who never stopped choosing love. And one evening, as he tucked his daughter into bed, there was another knock at the door. This time, it didn't bring fear. Only warmth. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness can start with a single, imperfect moment, please take a second to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the Kindness Chronicles. Your engagement helps these stories reach the people who need them most. Before the video ends, leave a comment telling us what part of this story stayed with you the longest. Sometimes, your words become someone else's lifeline.